United
from
Child Care Center. Yeah. How many kids do we transfer?
We have students coming anywhere between there are 3 attendance centers that go on a regular basis, and sometimes a 4th or 5th. And it'll depend on any one given day, but we could have anywhere from 40 to 80 or 40 to 90 kids any one day riding buses back and forth, either in the morning or in the afternoon, or a combination.
Thanks, I'll give you this. Probably busy.
Thank you, Deb. Thank you, Susan. Any other questions?
I want to know what shovel rent means, Mr. Ed. What is shovel rent? In the SAI agreement?
Usually shovel ready means, and I have to go back and read your context, but that it's ready to roll out immediately. So it's ready to,
I heard that before.
yeah, ready to roll out, shovel ready.
Shelter.
Okay. So we have a motion and a second on the table. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Moving on to public comments. I've been contacted. All right. Secretary's financial report.
Thank you. Hopefully everybody received their file this month for the financial report. So, this is the beginning of a new fiscal year for us, so you'll see in the general fund for the month, we received $297,906 in revenue, and that's pretty typical of July, and it's actually, but this is actually better than what August will be, because August is our slowest month of the year for revenue. But you see our expenditures continue to move along at $4,304,177 for a fund balance of $10,854,422 for the end of July. And you can see where the dollars are at in the checking account of the various investment instruments that we have. We want to move down to the schoolhouse fund. Total revenue for the month for the statewide 1-cent sales tax, $337,484, with expenses for a construction project, which would be Hanson, with $624,903, and then the other $298.76 is transferred into the debt service for our sinking fund account to make the district's debt obligations, for a fund balance of $8,394,390 in round numbers as of the end of July. In the physical plant and equipment levy, you can see we took in $16,007. In the debt service fund, we had $99 in interest received for the month, plus the transfer of the $298,000 from the statewide 1-cent sales tax up above, for a fund balance of $3,098,453, with expenditures of $647,651. The expenditures, the vast majority of all of them were for construction projects at Lincoln, Southdale, in North Cedar, and then various other summer maintenance projects, for our fund balance at the end of July of $2,450,802. And on the last page, student activity, $20,650, revenue for the month, $65,719 out, fund balance of $562,505, and in food service, $2,360 and $19,740 in round number, 39 in round numbers out, for a fund balance of $522,057. And I would entertain any questions from the board.
Any questions?
Are almost all the food service accounts paid online?
That's more and more, not as much as we'd like. We continue to promote that. Parents have the ability to be able to go online and do that. Now at the high school, we started second semester last year, and we'll continue this year, where kids can actually, or parents can actually walk in and do a credit card payment right in the office. We hope to be able to expand that during the course of the school year. But we still, it's improved, it's growing, but it wouldn't hurt anybody's feelings if it were a quicker rate.
Thank you. If there's no further questions, we will put the Secretary's financial report on file for audit.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks, Doug. Under communications.
Honored to have Corey Winter here this evening to present the school district for a check from Foundation.
And there were, how many, Dan and Pam? 20-some this summer who were in attendance at the conference in Minneapolis. And I can just summarize it by saying, what a great experience. And I am returning with a renewed spirit of cooperation and collaboration to increase student achievement. And really, that's the essence of the professional learning communities, as you've explained to me. So it's been exciting to see how the community has responded to this. So I'm pleased today to bring Dan and Pam up. And not you this time. Dan and Pam can come on up here, please. And I'd like to make this presentation to you from the Cedar Falls Community Schools Foundation, our annual fund drive. This check for $6,300, and added on to that from last year, we've made a real significant contribution to raising that student achievement. Thank you very much. Thank you, Pam.
Thank you, Floyd.
All right. Thank
The previous agenda, and within your packet, you have the 14-15 ISAB legislative priorities. We need to select 5 of those to submit from Cedar Falls Community School District to ISAB. Within your packet, you can kind of scroll down and look at the ones that they have listed, multiple ones, from last year, just to give you a sense of the ones that we chose last year as a school district. We did select and choose number 3. Rigorous content standards, support of the Common Core, Iowa Core. Number 8, which is the supports the inclusion of dropout prevention and funding of at-risk students in the foundation formula. We selected last year number 10, which is focusing on giving local school boards authority to establish charter schools and to focus on the waivers approved by the Board of Education. We selected number 12 last year, which is returning to a 3-year school board member term with less than a majority of the school board elected in any one year. We selected 14, supplemental state aid in a timely manner and reflecting actual cost increases. And then we actually, last year, had number 20 and 21. They were put together last year. For some reason, they separated those this year. But it was A, supports the repeal of mandatory school start day and allow districts who offer incentives to provide extended days or innovative calendars. Those were added together last year. This year they're separated. Last year we did select 6 in the accepting.
What are your thoughts?
Is there much to say that most of what we chose last year to support had no action?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't know if, we don't know what others supported or how ASB looks at that to determine what's indeed pushed.
Or to put that question another way, do we have any feedback on what the IASB did on the things that did get action? Were those truly emphasized, or was it more just the political process?
Political process, and they do have a lobbyist that's employed by ISAB that is on the Hill, and they really advocate fairly extensively for what is their platform.
The whole list?
Typically, they focus on their platform areas, and you can kind of see some of the things that had no action. Some of those aspects of it comes out fairly clearly that nobody has great interest in that. They don't spend a lot of time with it, nor does it come up, but they will focus in on their priorities.
And what it says, no action, that means no action by the legislature?
No action by the
But they
legislature.
may have taken action themselves.
They could have advocated for something and it just had no traction with the legislative year.
I have a question about number 1. Do you think that the penny, that is in danger? Need to be allocated for
No,
uses?
I don't think it's in danger. One of the things that I would, and I don't remember seeing it on this, but I know it was on the UEN's list as far as potential advocacy. Continuous roll forward of the 20-year 1-cent penny. Right now, it seems that's in 2029, which is 15 years out. It was designed to have a 20-year lifespan, and it would be nice to either go with a rolling sunset of 20 years, or at least extend that out another 5 years, so it runs through 2034. It's been uniform across the state. I don't think there's any danger of it going away, but that rolling sunset is something that I think is extremely important for districts as we look at borrowing and bonding against that future revenue. look at that to make sure I stated that accurately.
And would that be voted for?
It would have to be legislative action, because right now it sunsets by legislative action in
Right, okay.
2029.
But it would not be public vote, it would be legislative.
Yes.
We might have to go back and do a revenue purpose statement, it depends on how they craft it. The hope would be that they craft it, that the current revenue purpose statements would be in action, but again, I don't know if that's legal. So we might have to do a revenue purpose statement by 2029 to re-track what that money could be used for.
But you don't think it's in any danger, what's in place now? Because wasn't there talk about a year or so ago, using that for other things that were voted for?
I think during the recession, there was some discussion that maybe that could be repurposed or reused, but I think that was just conversation and never gained for any
So
traction.
that's not really danger.
I don't think so. If I remember correctly, that takes almost a 3/4 vote to be able to
That's what I
overturn it.
wondered.
So it's going to be very unlikely that it's overturned.
Anybody have any strong feelings about others? I'll just say one that I think is simple and maybe we would all agree. I still support number 12, this returning to 3-year school board member terms. I think that's important, and I think other districts feel it's important also. When we go to our able meetings, there is the sense that they worry about that. And I've sat with a district that their board did entirely turn over in 2 election processes.
I think viewing and schools also.
Support, yes, they have to. Yes.
Tell me, on the dropout prevention on number 8, is that, what does that advocate? Different than
Basically, and Dan can answer this probably much better, but I'll take a stab too, just the flexibility dropout. They really confined that about 4 years ago to say you cannot use that for the length of programs that we had in the past. And then they also gave you very finite factors that determines who is at risk and who may be funded, and that's really short on that list.
Yeah, it limited the students that could be identified as at risk, and then also limited the uses of those dollars. So, unfortunately, it's additional property tax, local property tax that we raise for that anyway, so.
I think Cedar, the at-risk student count that we have that's on our budget, that's funded at the same mix of property tax state aid that our regular general ed students are funded at. So it would be theoretically less of a burden on property tax citizens of the district as far as the dollars we would receive.
And I'm sorry, that I didn't hear the first part. I had highlighted 3 also. Had we picked 3 last time?
Yes, we did.
Okay.
Yes, we did.
I still think 3 is important also. The teacher quality.
If I had that one.
I don't know if we'll make traction with it, but.
I also liked 11 because I thought it covers so many things. You know, it talks about local control, it talks about new mandates unless they're fully funded, and I mean, this covers, don't you think? It covers a lot of areas.
And don't repurpose existing education funds.
Yeah.
Don't impose new mandates unless they're fully funded.
Maintain the high achievement.
Mr. Superintendent, we cannot go through this conversation without advocating for 14 January 15th. We have to have time to make an adequate plan.
I had 14 highlighted.
Well, I didn't have it on here. We can accept that. So how many would that be?
12.
I mean, I would ask if, can you explain 21, is that something that's important to us? I mean, I think 20, I do support the repeal of the mandatory school start date, but how does 21 work into that?
Well, and to me, I'm a little nervous by 21 as it reads right now, because what are incentives and opportunities to have extended days on the calendar? And that always makes me a little nervous, because it's saying we'll give you monetary incentives, per student allotment if you go from 180 student days to 190 student days, what, vice versa. So I want a little bit more clarity on that. This is the first year they split that out. The priority last year, as it read, really was that repeal of mandatory start date, potentially looking at innovative or extended day calendars. The way that's stated, I would need a little bit more dialogue to figure out exactly what they would hope for from that.
Is there anything else in here that you've read where it does give the local districts more flexibility on start dates and school days and such, or is it?
Those were the two that really focus on that.
20 is that's it, one sentence.
And what's it, going to hours, don't we have a little more flexibility than we did?
We have a little bit more flexibility when you look at hours, but we're still confined to making sure
Right.
that we have a program that communicates, so.
I think it's the word incentives
Yes,
that,
yes.
Just never know.
flag. I surprisingly enough, I picked 23 also.
Yeah.
I just thought,
Just in case.
I don't, I think it's important. I also think the other avenues of property tax versus income sort tax, that those are, allow us more opportunity, I guess, is the way I look at it. It's hard to explain an income surtax, but if you understand it,
Yes.
it can be very fair. That is Joyce Coyle's point of view.
Under that number 24, legislative action, what is TLC?
Teacher leadership and composition are later. And the other one we could potentially put in there is the rolling sunset on the ones in sales tax. Advocate, keep that on the docket.
I think that's good. I mean, whether they act on it or not,
Which number?
get in front of it.
Our school district didn't go in because
It's not on the list.
Oh, okay, I was gonna, like, we're trying to
Number
find it.
39.
Keep scrolling.
Of course, I was supporting 35 and 36 or one or the other. I'm not sure
I
about
supported
special ed.
35, 36, 37,
Me too.
38,
Yeah,
just
me
so
too.
you know.
I just thought the special ed funding needs to keep that in front
So
of
which
us.
15 do you want to pick?
They're all important.
We
They
want them
are.
We want them
Number 11 focuses on that supports reform of the educational system. That's research-based, focus on, again, the comprehensive assessments. So to me, that's the same language, it's just stated differently. So, and I think 11 is a little bit more comprehensive as far as priority. It sounds like there is some kind of agreement, consensus that 12 seem to be fairly supported. I think 14 is fairly important as a district, just to continue to push that, to say, please follow the law. Do that in a timely fashion, in a timely manner.
14 and 15 kind of go together, I hate it. School foundation formula and in a timely manner.
we talked about it. So we got 8, 11, 12, and 14.
I mean, one question I have about not choosing number 3 is, I think as a district, we have embraced, as a staff and a district, that the Iowa core is important with our policy process and everything else. And it seems like 3 does focus on that a little bit more. I just think with everything going on with the Iowa core, it's important for us to maintain our support for that. So I don't know how you read 3 versus 11 in that aspect.
So you like 3, you like them both, but you also like 3.
But I don't know if anyone else sees it.
What did we have last time, 5? 6?
We have 4 now.
If we put 3 in, that's 5.
And this is now just, again, superintendent, we have been advocating for a number guide us to say, continue to advocate for that, knowing that I know ISMB, SAI, UEN all understands the importance of that, and are working there to correct that. But I don't think it's like that.
It's the same true for the board terms.
See, I've not heard that.
I wondered if that was, we were serving more last year.
Which is surprising. There's two sides, and it seems like when you talk to people, they're either strong on both sides, you want some continuity, so you do not want to go back to the old way, or you don't want a forum coming up every cycle that you just want to have some continuity.
So you don't think that that's necessarily going to be part of it?
I don't think so. I think that's something that is open, at least for dialogue.
I don't understand.
Well, I was happy with the ones we chose last year. And, of course, we're one voice out of 350, so I'm enjoying this because I'm learning a little bit more about the priorities and interests of my fellow board members and my cabinet, so that's good for me, just to learn from that. And I will add the comment that Susan, number 8 reminds me of number 35, where the inequities between the funding, just if you keep beating that drum, I think the lobbyists do, and nothing happens. So maybe we can try and guess what the legislature's going to do and get those.
Good luck.
And it might be good to have the 39th just to get it on the radar. You know, as a single middle school, I know even UEN's pushing it, so we advocate for a rolling sunset, rolling sunset.
That starts a discussion.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
We classify as the Cedar Falls rule.
Yeah.
Perpetuity.
We hear every time the number 35 on that special ed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. There's nothing that we get before people.
It seems like we've been able to deal with the dropout prevention better than, I mean, it seems like we've adjusted to make it work as best.
We were fortunate in the fact that historically Cedar Falls didn't consistently ask for the maximum amount of taxable value that we could get. And then when the new limits came into play, or the reconstructing of how they determined that, now it's all driven by a formula. And we're right at that, we're hitting the ceiling. We're not pushing our head against the ceiling, but it's sort of like peeking into a small car. We're right here.
And the reason we have heard that it won't get changed is because there are some abuse across the state that people were classifying things that weren't at risk, allowed to at-risk funding, which caused the legislature to be That's why I think it's so too tragic to get people returned in a way that's going to be positive. So, unfortunately, again, 1 or 2 or 3 maybe schools, but still 3 were.
Whereas 35 is more universal, especially.
You think there's a chance special ed to do really fun?
It's more of a federal
I know.
level, but
We've been talking about that.
That number 36 was some of that out. Federal government.
The SBRC gets into some of that too.
Well, on the, which one was it, Joyce, that addresses the bond, just go taking that to a simple majority? 23. In past history, can you recall how many districts have made a majority but not made the super majority?
I'm sure. So I know that the bond elections over the course of the last few years have gone down, but I'm not sure how many have failed due to the different instances. Probably.
And at convention, I have heard people stand up and talk to us about this.
I mean, no one just,
It's
it's not
important.
just Cedar Falls, it's, you know, across the state, districts are trying to make improvements, and I think we're experiencing that now. I mean, that's pretty important.
is. I think it'd be good to put on there. I really would.
I don't. I still think for a governing body, it still needs to be a supermajority to have that kind of tax consequence for 20 years. It needs to have that kind of effort.
I think we're the only taxing body that requires a majority of the cities, counties. But that is, that was the reason it was put in place.
Yeah.
If it was the full voting, if it was typically traditionally a full voting group of people going out, the issue I have with it is a very small group of people can, it's because of apathy, but a small group of people can really make that decision.
You have to go 50/50? or 50%?
No, if it's a supermajority. I
Oh,
mean, I guess
mean
you could say.
to take it down, right? Okay. I did it the other way, to pass it.
You know, I believe districts are making
Absolutely.
the right decisions.
Absolutely.
and
Great district.
recommendations.
3 districts that didn't
Are elected.
do it right with the special ed funding practice.
And we'll wait till September 9th,
Actually, you can bring it forward at the, we can bring it forward at convention.
We can move it there.
Yeah.
You don't want to do it.
That's right.
We could bring it forward at convention.
Okay, that took me a minute to
Okay,
catch
does
up on
help?
that one.
Okay. We can think about it, see how it all shakes out, and then we can bring it forward at convention if it needs to be. Or we feel passionately about it.
I would like to know.
I'm just shaking my head, I don't know.
No, that's fine. I'd like to know more internally what IASB does determine for this sort of effort. I mean, they're really trying to herd cats here. Like I said before, I think all but 2 of our had no action. And today's funny in terms of let's follow. So the tail do the chasing here, and let's go see what they do first to see if we're on board or not. So, and that's based on my ignorance and probably disappointment myself over the last 5 years to really find out what they do internally, but to send their lobbyists in to change. If it's simply a dollar amount, it's disappointing. And that seems to be some of the explanations here in terms of, you know, the money and the money and the money and the money, but sometimes there's the principle of the thing too, in terms of the start date or in terms of public control. And so how do they gauge that? It's just my thoughts towards the end of the conversation.
These are all resolutions that are passed. The action is the legislature's has to act. So I don't know how our lobbyist weighs in on, or our state board weighs in on their priority.
My point exactly, Jim.
I think sometimes no action is actually a very large amount of work on the lobbyist part to ensure that there's no action on our behalf. But sometimes no action is a lot better than having some action on here if they want to come to the end. So it's not necessarily a bad thing, there's no action.
Okay, now, looking at, I have written down 8, 11, 12, 14, and 3. But
Did we lose 8 though?
And
For the same
36.
reason, I think we just wanted to.
We had one very.
And so I would keep it under 39.
That's what.
39.
Yeah, we lost another.
And strike 8.
and strike 8.
I think 8 has enough traction across the city, just because the people are very passionate about that one, and I can virtually guarantee that'll come up at the caucus.
What were the numbers again first?
Now they are,
Can you
if
read
we
it?
strike 8, it's 11, 3, I'll read them in order.
Okay.
3, 11, 12, 14, and 39.
And will you say 39?
That would be a 20-year rolling sunset.
20 years rolling
State-
sunset, okay.
Have a statewide
This is
rolling
This is
sunset.
39.
I know.
Yes, we say it.
Rolling sunset.
Brand new, no, it's not on there, that's why I said 39. No, no.
All right. we don't need to approve, we need a motion. We need a motion to approve the priorities as 3, 11, 12, 14, and 39. That's 39.
So moved.
Somebody need to articulate what 39 means?
I think that
And you
just
got it.
did. Yeah.
Close the sunset for the 1% sales tax.
5 years or
20-year rolling.
20-year rolling? Okay.
Or
That's
something
that's
along
how
those
we're gonna
lines.
word it.
Okay.
I second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carried. Thank you. Moving on to the superintendent's report.
A few items, we have the all-school welcome tomorrow, everybody's invited to attend, we have a special board meeting, work session tomorrow at 1 as well. August 25th, board meeting, we will obviously bring back the purchase agreement for the potential high school band, as well on the 8th, just put in your calendars, we're looking at that date, have two events, because it should be completed at that time. The caveat to that too, is we are hoping to have an open house on September 4th as well, to have the community kick off with the chamber having at that time. So I'll send out some more details as we finalize that, but hopefully we'll get that calendar, probably with a 6:30 time frame, 6 o'clock time frame,